So I'm really excited because starting us off today is someone I am thrilled for you all to get to meet. And I want you to welcome Tara Cleland to the stage to join me. I had the
Hello, hello,
absolute
hello.
joy. Yay, hi, honey. I had the joy of meeting Tara over 2 years ago as a patient voice at a working session. Tara describes herself as a small town girl with big city dreams, and she is one of the most real humans that you guys are ever going to meet.
Mhm.
She is an example of someone who challenged herself to take control of her health and control what she could control and recognize what she couldn't control. And in doing that, she really went from being her worst enemy to her own biggest champion and cheerleader. And that shift has allowed her to challenge the system and herself along the way. If you're not following her on Instagram, do it right now. But with that, I'm going to pass the floor over to you, my friend, my love, and let you introduce yourself and share a bit of your story for a few minutes. Good morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. This has just been so great. This opportunity has been fantastic. For me, my name is Tara. I live in Edmonton. I'm from Saskatchewan. I've been fighting with obesity, I think, ever since I came out of the womb. I've always been the bigger girl. I've always been the one that was always the elephant in the room. Oh, she's so big, but nobody would say anything. I've been, it's been an uphill battle this majority of my life. I'm in my 40s and I'm okay with that. I I kind of my first bout with weight was in I think in my 30s. I hit about a depression because I didn't my environment wasn't the best because I really had trouble getting a job right out of school, and I've always been a workaholic my entire life, and I put passion into everything I do, and I really struggled and I gained a bunch of weight, and this is when I was back in Saskatchewan. And what happened was is I tried to find help and I tried to find an outlet to help maintain my weight and get the weight that I could be and just be healthier. And then I got myself together. I moved to Alberta, and I decided to find the supports I needed. But sadly, I didn't really take care of the one thing that I needed to take care of more than anything was my mental health. My mental health, I always thought, it's all good. I'm fine if I just suck it up and, pull out my big girl panties, and just deal with it. Because all I have to do is move and eat less, right? That's what they all tell me. That's what the doctors tell me. So then I had an incident in my environment at my work that kind of tipped the scale, got me really upset. And I decided to jump deep into, well, I didn't decide, it was out of my control, to jump into my depression. So what happened is I tipped the scale at 500 pounds. I could barely get out of bed. I really, really struggled with wanting to live, my self worth, and just trying to function every day. I am married. I have been in a relationship for 10 years. I have beautiful friends, but I just wasn't able to be motivated to do anything. Every step of the way, it hurt. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to do this, and I really struggled. I think it was in 2019, I decided to talk to my doctor about trying to get bariatric surgery, get on the list. So he said, okay, but other than that, nothing was said, nothing was done. So I would always be in pain. I was always so self critical. I really struggled breathing and walking every minute of every day. And then I found the OC community. Well, I found a bunch of people who understood, who gave me education, knew that I wasn't really alone, and I decided to find my voice again. I got the mental health help I needed. I got more education on how to eat properly. I got myself a new doctor because no matter what office I went into, I was always a burden. Whether the bed wasn't it was too heavy for the bed to get an ultrasound, or I couldn't fit in the chairs, or I couldn't even walk around the room without, any kind of support or an eye roll. I was always that elephant in the room. And then I decided, I was just like, with OC Canada, I decided, these people that understand me, that get me. So I decided to get my voice back with the proper psychological help I needed. I ended up getting, and also I didn't tell you guys, I ended up going on pharmaceuticals to try everything, and nothing worked. I tried Ozempic. I tried all those things. Nothing worked, and I couldn't get funding for it, right? And then my body decided to fall apart. So it was just one thing after the other. And then I was tired of fighting. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do this. So then, as the date came closer and closer to my surgery, I realized that I really can do this. I can do this. And I got my voice back, and I felt that, getting educated and listening and fighting for my rights as a patient, has really helped me. I I strive every day to be the best person I can be. I'm 5 months post-op for bariatric surgery. I feel like I've almost like a new person again. I right now to date I've lost about 200 pounds. I still use a walker sometimes because my body is and then I still walk with a cane, but I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm not ashamed to be who I want to be. I'm not ashamed to always be Tara. I'm not ashamed just to be me, right? Because I believe strongly that we need the tools that we need to be successful. And whether it's with the medical system, whether it's with psychological help, whether it's with accountability, I wouldn't be where I am here without the mental health help that I've had, right? And we always could use more, right? But it's great to be here. I'm, like I said, 200 pounds down, and I feel like I actually lost a whole person, right? So I just thank you for everybody coming here, and that's really my story.
Amazing. You are the bomb.com. And I know it's hard to put our story in like a little condensed version when there's so many. I know there's many more
Mm-hmm.
tentacles probably that we could touch
Mm-hmm.
on in there, but I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you so much. And one thing, as I said at the beginning, you are one of the most real people that I've met along the way. And I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that transparency because it isn't always fun and easy. And
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the things I know that you and I have connected with along the way is, and I heard you say it here as well, you're a workaholic, you're passionate, you wanted to show
Mm-hmm.
up for life. We know no one
Mm-hmm.
chooses obesity, but that
Mm-hmm.
stigma and bias that starts externally can really start eating away at ourselves internally. So
Yeah.
you also said you're almost a new person, and I want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about that for a second and maybe
Mm-hmm.
challenge you. Are you a new person or are you back to feeling more connected to yourself and feeling more genuine?
See, you know what? I like that. I always used to say, going through this, I want to be my old self again. I want to be my old self. Actually, I'm a better version of myself. Would
Mhm.
I have gone through this experience, do like becoming the same person? Probably not. I have grown and I have such a lust for life. And this new energy I have drives my husband absolutely bonkers because I run circles around him, right? And it's just, I'm so happy to have sunshine. And you know what? I'm so happy to have snow. Not all the snow, but some of it, right? I'm just so happy to be present because when you face those doors of all those obstacles, it just gets really, really hard. And I haven't stopped. I've got many, many places to go.
Absolutely. What about
Mm-hmm.
your measure of success when you first set out? Um,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to frame this more as myself. I know when I first set out on my obesity journey and kind of challenging and really trying to get control of what I could control in my health, I definitely had an idea of success and a measure of success, which I think we all often have, which is that number on the scale. I have very
Mm.
much moved away from that. Have you had a similar shift and paradigm in how you're actually measuring success today?
To me, measuring success is getting up and walking to my next cubicle at work, getting up out of bed and putting my socks on without trying to move, getting dressed without being in pain. And to me, realizing, oh, I just walked across the room without an aid, that's success to me, right? That's how I look at success, that I have the chance to live again another day. And also, I remember every step of the way what has happened, and I don't want my fellow humans to go through this again. It's just, no.
Mm-hmm. How have you been able to rebuild trust with yourself, or was that a factor for you?
Oh, yes. But to rebuild it, I think a lot of it is honest conversations, owning my truth, and just being real and doing a lot of journaling. I found a passion in journaling and in art and of course music. That's how I've had a real discussion, because if you keep going in this mental rumination, this mental prison, you're really not going to go too far. You just have to believe in yourself and know you can do it and trust the people behind you that'll catch you.
That's such a huge part of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you
Mm-hmm.
talk about that mental prison, for you, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Was it that you felt unworthy largely because of
Mm-hmm.
your weight, your place in the world? What was it that was kind of that talk track that was in your head that you really had to overcome?
Well, knowing mentally that I could technically lift a car, so to speak, because I have actually, and also just being in that negative cycle because I hated myself so much because I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't hygienically take care of myself. I really, I didn't see any way out. I didn't see any possibility for like light at the end of the tunnel. Even though I was on the list for surgery, nobody talked to me. Nobody said a word to me. So then I was left to just ruminate and just go over and over. And then I just said, enough, I'm done. No more, I'm finished. I can't live like this. I need to be better.
Isn't it? And it's so challenging. I'm just thinking what you just shared there about hating yourself and like not even
Mm-hmm.
being feeling like you can take care of yourself and your personal
Mm-hmm.
hygiene. There's so many of
Mm-hmm.
those tiny dignities that are robbed from
Mm-hmm.
us when we are in larger bodies, starting from a really young age. Similar to you, I would say I feel like I've been
Mm-hmm.
navigating obesity since the womb, and or
Mm-hmm.
I was always that bigger kid. There really is an impact when you are worried about the strength of the chair since age
Oh,
4, that really frames
oh.
how you navigate life and how your worlds really start to shrink, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's really
It is. And as we all know, the doctor's office is chairs, right? There hasn't been, I don't think a human alive has not walked into a doctor's office and did like a quick chair, kind of be like, oh, I don't know if I can sit there. Oh, I don't know. It's a hill I'm going to die on eventually. I want them all to be hands like arms free.
Yes. And that's just it. It's those moments that people don't even realize, and it may come without malice, but without
Yeah.
acknowledging that people are different and that body diversity is a good thing as well, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're
Yeah.
receiving care, body diversity is going to continue to be a factor. And some of us will live in larger bodies, but we are
Mm-hmm.
healthy. And that just so got
Mm-hmm.
lost in the sauce along the way for me. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually incredibly strong, and I know this of you as well, that, when you do move into being more active, it's kind of
Yeah.
surprising
Yeah.
how much you can really do. Let's talk about physical activity for a moment, because I know that's a huge part of your world. And again, follow
Oh,
this lady on
yes.
Instagram, everybody. Let's talk about that and what that's meant for you.
Yeah. Well, to me, how I've put it, even though when I first started this journey, it was that every step hurt because every body part was sore, every hips, my feet, my everything hurt. Um, what really I struggled with is like, okay, I need to move, and then moving got easier. And then once I started realizing that I could start deadlifting again, I could start swimming again, and then I can actually get my coordination back. I felt strong. I didn't feel thin. I just felt strong. I felt like Tara. And then it became such, pardon for lack of a better term, like a drug for me, right? You know
Mm.
what? Because I've always felt I've always felt that I've been, I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm really good at lifting and I'm really good at being strong. So I just want to run with that because it makes me feel good.
Right? When we get to show up as ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
ourselves, and we feel like we're
Yeah.
flourishing, it's that much easier to be there and to also cast our light for
Mm-hmm.
other people to see along the way. What's been your
Yes. Yeah.
experience of people who have either encountered you on Instagram or in real life as they've watched your journey? What has that been like for the community of people around you?
Oh, they've been absolutely so supportive. Like I honestly, you know how they used to say it takes a village? It really does take a village, right? Because where I work has been extremely supportive, right? Where my family at home, my extended family, my husband, has just been, my best friend, it's just my circle of friends have always wanted me to be the best I can be. And they've also held me accountable along the way, right? Because my head does get ahead of my mouth sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, right? And I
No.
just, but the community itself has just been, ever since I've been losing more weight, sadly, I'm getting different kind of attention. Before it
Mm.
was like I want to help her, but I don't want to interfere because I know she has struggles. But now it's like, oh, look at her go. I just see her walk across the room. Look at her go. Right. But it's been huge. And the reaction that I've got from my social communities online has been absolutely amazing. I've had champions across the board, and I appreciate each and every one of them.
As we should. I'm going to bring Ian in speaking about that larger community and see what's been bumping in the chat or if we've got any questions from that larger community as well.
Yeah, no questions so far for Tara in the chat, but there was something
Mm-hmm.
that came up that I picked up on. So you kind of gave a nice little shout out to Obesity Canada and finding us
Mm-hmm.
and a community of supportive people. I think I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit because I had the same experience. So I actually showed up to an Obesity Canada conference in 2015, and this was shortly after I had my bariatric surgery. I was probably maybe 5 or 6 months out from my surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and I had prior to that been engaged with the organization as a researcher for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I showed up there and I was sitting in a session and there was a panel of patient advocates that were up there speaking as part of this workshop. And I had no idea that this was possible or that they were, people were talking like this and being open. I was still
Yes.
almost like ashamed or trying to hide the fact that I had surgery. And then I had this epiphany. I was listening to these people share their experience. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I need to do, or this is what I needed. I needed to hear other people experiencing the things that I was experiencing and talk openly about it. And so that's how I got into what I do now. And to hear you hear or say that you found us and our community and you got that
Mm-hmm.
experience was really rewarding to me. But I'm also wanted to point out that you're now part of that community and you're now one of those people that is inspiring and making it easier for other people. So thank you for that. And
Oh,
I
thank
don't know
you.
if you have anything to say about finding that community. I'd love to hear it.
What I what I wish though is that more people knew about the OC community. I really, really wish. I tell as many people as I can, because it's like we all understand the people on the OC Connect. I swear are angels. They're absolute angels. The things that we talk about, and it's not always talking about this, and we're not always, how the victims, we're not like that. We talk about positive things and how the
Yes.
medical system is changing, how, and then we have people who explain that, oh, I've been treated this way, I've been treated good this way, oh, we still got to work on this way. And see, I'm going to be direct, you guys. A lot of people think people with obesity are whiners and victims. I'm not
Yep.
saying that we haven't been, but I was, but we're not always like that, So, and it's just the community itself, not just in Western Canada, but there's people from the East Coast, there's people from Ontario. It's like we're all one big happy family, and that is what I love about the community. And that's what saved my sanity, whatever was left anyway.
I
I
love it.
think there was a comment that just popped up from Corrine in the chat, and she asked about how do you manage people's biases and then your own biases. And I think that's a really interesting discussion point because I know for me, it wasn't so much other people's biases that bothered me, it was more my own and the
Yeah.
internalized bias that I had. And so for me, it took a lot to kind of wrap my head around that. I'm wondering, how have you dealt with that?
A comment was said to me So I've worked with a variety of populations. Like I've worked with at risk youth, I've worked with a lot of difficult people in my career. And I always say there is nothing that they can say that I haven't said to myself. I
Mm,
am the worst. Like I will honestly, the things that I've said to myself, how how is that okay? I would never say that to another human being. There's some of the things that goes on in my brain. But I am a little bit of a confrontational person. Anyway, so if anybody outside likes to say anything, I'm like, oh, pardon me, shall we have a conversation? But yet, when it came to myself, I had to approach the conversation differently, right?
mm.
Because I can't, I had to treat myself with kindness, and everybody else in the rest of the world can go fly a kite. That's how I look at it.
I
Perfect.
enjoy you so much. And I
And
appreciate that
that's
you're doing
it.
the PG version today as well, my friend.
Of course, I want to swear more than you know, but I'm being good. I'm behaving.
You're being fantastic. And I think, Ian, you're so right, though, that
Yeah,
internalized bias, and quite frankly, I know
yeah,
for myself as well, that talk track was actually at like 5x speed in my head as well. I don't know that I was cognitively or slowly telling myself, you don't deserve this or you're not worthy,
mhm,
but it was my default. It was always right there. And buttoning that and getting some space from that, I'm with you, was really a big game changer, because
yeah,
if you're constantly telling yourself you're not worthy of the care and the treatment, or of course that's how this is going to end, you're only
yeah,
going to keep perpetuating that same cycle, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
So we
yeah,
need more people like you that are busting it up. And I thank you as well for talking about that OC community.
yeah,
We will be talking about OC throughout the day today. I also do want to be real though. And Ian and I recognize, again, I mentioned at the beginning, we are a small but mighty team. So this needs to
yes.
kind of help us be a self-sustaining community as well.
Hmm.
But I really agree with you. There's so much light and positivity, and
Hmm.
even when it's not a most positive of topics, I feel like the hope and the intent is always positive in the conversations in the OC Connect community. So we're all trying to build off of each other's strengths. We're all trying to learn from other people's paths. So, to that end, what is the biggest thing that you want everybody to take away from your story that you've shared here today, my friend?
Is the number one thing is you're not alone. You're not alone. I know you may socially feel you're not alone, but you're not alone. And also there is always, always, always a light at the end of the tunnel. Even though if you feel that you're not you feel like you're in a cloud and you feel that you're not getting anywhere, there's always somebody there or somebody somewhere somehow there to help. Whether it's through religious places, whether it's through your medical system, or whether it's through a not-for-profit organization that'll have my heart, and that's OC, right? It's just there's always, you can do it, because if I can do it, you can do it. And I know you can do it, right? Just love
And we know
yourself.
these journeys aren't going to look the same.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
what someone's start weight
yeah.
might be my goal weight. I know, Ian, you've often referenced that as well. And that's something that I feel is
Mhm.
also really safe in the OC community. There's not a lot of talk
Yeah.
about numbers. It's really about that wanting to be understood, wanting to be seen and recognized. And that was such a shift for me as well. When you find those care practices that actually do it really right, the difference between someone making you feel badly about not being able to use a regular blood pressure
Mhm.
cuff and somebody who's apologetic because they didn't grab the right one first is a night and day experience.
Mhm.
It's so
Mhm.
important. Mm.
Just be
These
kind.
tiny.
Just be kind to each other. Yeah, just be kind. Just be kind.
Mhm. I love it. So
Mhm.
let's be kind to ourselves. Let's be kind to each other. Let's all follow Tara on Instagram as well and continue to pump your tires, my friend, because your journey really is fantastic. And I also
Yeah.
really appreciate that you don't speak of your journey as a finish line, or that you've hit a
Oh
finish
no.
line by any means as well. You're somebody who's
Yeah.
very real and understands that this is going to be an ongoing conversation with ourselves and with all of those people around us.
Oh yeah, and then you haven't heard the last of me. There'll be more of me. You trust me. You'll see me more, and you've heard. You both know I'm just starting. I'm just
I love it.
beginning.
Yay! Well, thank you for beginning our conference today
Of
and being our
course.
first speaker up. I hope you have an amazing rest of today. Thank you again. It is not easy to share your personal lived experiences, and you do it so beautifully. So, thank you,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Go have an amazing day, my friend. And
Thank
with
you, both
that,
of you.
yes, you have a fantastic one, honey.